Good morning and thanks for joining us on the Friday edition of TVC Breakfast. I am Veronica Dan Ikboy and I'm not here alone as usual. I have my co-hosts here, Super Sam Omashe as well as Mike Okoche. Gentlemen, good morning.
Great
morning.
It's
good to have
good
you
morning.
here again.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Great
We
to
do
be
not
here.
say thank God it's Friday
Thank
again,
God it's Friday.
but because Mr. Sam believes there's nothing to thank God for.
No. I didn't say there's nothing to thank God for. I'm only saying that there's nothing special about Friday.
Okay.
That is not special about Thursday.
I
There's
agree.
nothing special about Friday.
I
There's
agree.
not special about
Thursday.
Thursday.
So all days are special.
Every day is special.
Every day
but
is-
some days are more special than
Than the
others.
other.
Well, every day will
Now
prove
that's relative.
Every day will prove itself.
Yes,
Right,
of
right,
course.
right,
No, of course I
right.
agree. It's just a trend around where the holidays are coming. Friday
It's
is
a long
Saturday is
weekend
the
again.
weekend.
So
So anyone will be happy
we'll
on
be
the
happy
Friday.
that it's Friday
Yeah.
and we'll say thank God it's Friday. But then again, one other news that seemed to have perhaps doused that tension for a lot of persons, or the issue with regards to fake news over the week, is the return of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that is the APC presidential candidate for the 2023 elections. You know, before his return, there were rumors making the rounds that perhaps he was ill. Others said that he passed. But he came back yesterday to a rousing welcome from party faithful and strong supporters at the airport. And he made a statement saying, "Your hope is back," Sam.
It is not today that people have been exaggerating the stories of people's health in this life. It's not today. There was this writer, Mark Twain, very popular comic novelist and journalist. They reported the story that he had died. In fact, the editor of the newspaper said, "Go and find out whether he's dead. If he is dead, then write 1,000 words. But if he's alive, write only 100. It was then when they saw it, and this was what Mark Twain wrote in his own autobiography. And then he said, stories of my death highly exaggerated. You know, that was, maybe I died, but he just exaggerated it. You know, so that has been the story. But Asiwaju's story is that his health has become such an obsession with some people that they cannot even go beyond it. I was on a platform in which somebody was worried about the persistent barrage of contradictory information about him. And then somebody said there, I said, "Why don't you leave this man? Why are you obsessed with him?" That there are about 14 candidates for this position. You guys keep, obsessing about this guy. And then I told them, I said, it's because they're afraid of him. Because they say when you're on top, you're the topic. I think he should not bother himself. He should not bother himself about all this wahala about are you alive or are you alive? So long as you're alive and kicking, you go ahead and do your things. But it's a reflection of the fact that we want to manipulate things. He rides my bicycle. They say no, that it's an old picture. Some people put him there. They say he was on catheter with a white woman trying to raise him up. There's some people say he died. Somebody put on Reuters that he had postponed this. He has cancelled or postponed his campaign and all kinds of stories. And when you see them, the people themselves delight in the falsehood. That they have been dealing out. I mean, I lie. I believe in my lies. I lie. I stew in my own mendacity. So that is what it is.
Right, Mike.
I like when they say when you're on top, you be the topic.
Become the topic, yeah.
Now, the point there is, this is a time you will see all sorts of fake news. So it is, in fact, it's becoming a norm that when elections are here, the rate of fake news spikes because you're going to hear them, whether it is Tinubu or it is Peter Obi or is it Atiku or Conquest. So whatever the thing is, people will just sit down somewhere, just try to manipulate
stories.
The stories, any information. They can even get pictures from sometime in 1940-something, if they can be colored, and then concoct them somehow, and then misrepresent all of those things to be whatever that is not. But the facts will always speak for themselves.
Right.
For all the things they have said, well, the candidate is back.
It's teaching them how to do exercise now. It's teaching them how to do exercise.
So that's how the thing is. But ultimately, for those who are political watchers, who are interested in the game itself, now he's back. The APC campaigns will also kick off. And then we'll wait to see how Nigerians will begin to juxtapose that against what Labour Party is doing, what PDP is doing, or NNPP, and every other party as the case may be, so that Nigerians will have the benefits of getting to, hold these people. What is your promise? What is your manifesto? How are you going about it? How are you interpreting
campaigns.
it? And all of that. Let the game now begin.
Yes, so campaigns will begin in earnest now that he has returned. Barely 24 hours after victims of the Abuja-Kaduna train were released, President Muhammadu Buhari has now met with them. The meeting took place at the Nigerian Defence Academy Hospital in Kaduna. Earlier, the president was in Afaka, Kaduna State at the passing out parade and commissioning ceremony of cadets of regular course 69 of the Nigerian Defence Academy. After the event, the president visited the train victims at an unnamed hospital. TVC News' Lupe Asum has details.
The passing out parade is the climax of this cadets' 5-year academic and military training at the NDA in Kaduna. The arrival of President Muhammadu Buhari, who is a special guest of honor, signals the beginning of the occasion. He is reviewing passing out cadets for the last time in his capacity as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Nigeria. The cadets of 69 regular course are the first set in the history of the academy to be trained with a curriculum that includes counter-terrorism and counter-insurgency operations. This was aimed at addressing the existential and asymmetry threats facing the country. The president noted that terrorists and insurgents are out to destroy the reforms brought by his administration. But he charged service chiefs and other armed forces personnel to replicate the success recorded in the Northeast in other parts of the country. He also expressed delight at the release of 23 remaining kidnapped train passengers after 7 months in captivity.
Peace came for our country, but the remaining 23 victims of the March 28 Abuja Kaduna train attack were released by the heinous terrorists. In this regard, I have instructed the service chiefs to replicate the successes in the Northeast in other parts of the country.
The president went on to highlight the achievements recorded by his administration within the last 7 years, before reassuring Nigerians of his commitment to ensure a free and fair election in 2023.
In 2015, we inherited a country at crossroads, with bombs going off with frightening frequency. I am utterly committed to ensuring that the forthcoming elections are peaceful and transparent.
Next was the march past in quick and slow time. The cadets were also reminded of the challenging state of the nation's security and tasked to rise in our defense.
These cadets are joining the armed forces at a time where their knowledge and skill will be put to test by prevailing security situations. They have been assured of the president's support and charged to protect the nation with utmost commitment. Lupe Asam, TVC News, Kaduna.
Talking politics now, barely a week after the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress traveled abroad, Bola Ahmed Tinubu is back in the country from the United Kingdom. The presidential hopeful returned after days of intensive political consultations and meetings in London. Asiwaju Bola Tinubu was received by the vice presidential candidate Senator Kashim Shettima, DG APC Presidential Campaign Council, Governor Simon Lalong, and other chieftains of the ruling party. Bola Awakon has details.
APC presidential candidate Asiwaju Bola Tinubu arrives at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport after a less than 2 weeks trip to the United Kingdom. He was welcomed by the APC vice presidential candidate Senator Kashim Shettima, DG APC Presidential Campaign Council, Governor Simon Lalong, former governor of Edo State Adams Oshiomhole, and other chieftains of the ruling party. A crowd of supporters also thronged the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport to welcome Asiwaju Tinubu, whom they say is the most preferred candidate on next year's presidential ballot. The APC presidential candidate says he is happy to be back home.
The trip was very good. I enjoyed my, break, and I'm happy to be back to my fatherland.
Asiwaju Tinubu says his team will be performance-driven and will improve the welfare of Nigerians and take it to an enviable position among the Committee of Nations.
Nigeria should expect a very intelligent ability to think and perform. Nigeria should expect that the help they needed is here. The hope that is almost teetering is back, and back actively. And we hold every effort to the country of patriotism, dedication, capacity, and ability to do the job, not negative thinking. If it is assurance, we give Nigeria that we definitely will make a better country out of it all.
The former governor of Lagos, whom many consider to be in a pole position to clinch victory at the presidential election, embarked on a short trip to the United Kingdom, where he relaxed and held strategic meetings and consultations ahead of the campaigns leading to next year's elections. Ola Awakan, TVC News, Abuja.
The Nigerian government has declared Monday, the 10th of October, as public holiday to mark this year's Eid al-Maulud celebration in commemoration of the birth of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. Minister of Interior Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola made this declaration on behalf of the federal government, admonished all Nigerians to imbibe the spirit of love, patience, tolerance, and perseverance, which are deep spiritual virtues and which the Holy Prophet, Muhammad, exemplified, adding that doing so would guarantee peace, security, and harmony in the country. Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola enjoins Nigerians, particularly Muslims, to refrain from violence, lawlessness, and other acts of criminality. The minister went ahead to wish all Muslims a happy celebration and Nigerians a happy holiday. Thank you for staying with us. It's time now to take a look at stories making headlines on Nigerian newspapers. And I begin with the First News newspaper. No deal strike federal government ASU spat lingers as government union fails to agree out of court settlement. You find the details on the front page of the First News newspaper. To the Daily Trust now, 23 freed train passengers reunite with families after meeting Buhari. President says security challenges have evolved. How Mamu sabotaged rescue effort. You find the details on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. To this Nigerian newspaper now, military captures 79 terrorists, collaborators. Buhari meets 23 freed Abuja-Kaduna train passengers. All of the details you will find on the front page of this Nigeria newspaper. To the Blueprint now. Buhari to service chiefs, stop evolving threat to nation sovereignty. Replace replicates Northeast successes across Nigeria. Federal government procures over 550 naval platforms, increases NAF platforms by over 38% in 7 years. All of the details on the front page of the Blueprint. Mike.
All right, I have Daily Times next year from my end. And it says Buhari directs service chiefs to replicate Northeast successes. That's the Daily Times, rather, Daily Times. And it says lists military acquisitions in 7 years. Says bombs were going off with a frightening frequency when he assumed office. That's what Daily Times has. And from there, let's go to Daily, as for Leadership. Leadership newspaper says travelers, residents stranded as flood grounds Lokoja. This has been on the news for some time now. North cut off from the south and economic activities stalled. Oil marketers blame fuel scarcity on the situation. That's what the Leadership newspaper has in there. And then we have Business Day. Let's go there. Business Day says hunger crisis to worsen as floods drown farmlands. Hunger crisis to worsen as floods drown farmlands. That's a Business Day. Now let's go to Nigerian News Direct. The News Direct says economic growth, that's the focus. CBN disburses 2.1 trillion naira for 426 real estate support facility projects. Says developing SMEs to export and foreign exchange, its key focus. That's what News Direct has. Nature News is the last one we're looking at now from this end. Mismanagement of natural resources is a violation of human rights. NAITI and NHRC is saying that. Mismanagement of natural resources is a violation of human rights. Okay? That's what Nature News has. Veronica.
All right, let's look at the story where the president was speaking or admonishing service chiefs to replicate the successes recorded in the Northeast with regards to the fight against insurgency. He was addressing the passing out parade and commissioning ceremony of cadets of 69 regular course of the Nigerian Defence Academy, and he has said that the chief of defense staff and the 7 chiefs basically should address the evolving security challenge across the country, and they should stop it as much as they can. He also talked about how much his government have invested with regards to addressing the fight against insecurity, talking about military hardware, that the most that have been recorded in the past 38 years have come from his government. So much has been spent with regards to that, and he said it was strategic at addressing the security situation that we find ourselves in.
Yes, it's interesting that he has come to gospelize his own achievements as commander-in-chief, something that he has not done since he mounted that seat. And people have always said that you didn't do well over the years to handle insecurity and so on. And it's interesting that he's saying this at the same time that we are seeing uptick in the work of his security men. They have been acquiring weapons for sure. They have been doing a lot of work. So it's not that he should boast that he has acquired a lot of hardware, because he has also had a lot of hard times. And it only follows that he should get the hardware. The point is, did he succeed, or has he succeeded in turning this hardware into peace? And then we can say that we are seeing very tangible results about that. You have to be, as commander-in-chief, not only a man that brings peace or wins a war, you must also make your people understand that you are doing it. You don't have to tell them the strategies. You just have to make sure you do it and make people see that you do it. So people are still talking, people are still living in 4 or 5 months ago or 7 months ago in the rhetoric about insecurity in the country. It is understandable to the extent that people went through a lot of shock and pain and fear, moving on highways and so on. But we know that, there is real improvement in this area of existence, and it's going to take a while for people to understand it. The federal government and its minders will be the ones to help us get through this psychologically, because there's also a therapy part of it, a national therapy part of it.
Absolutely.
Trying to know that things are not what they used to be, because everybody will still need to, we still be saying, I don't want to pass that road, or I don't want to pass that road. Somebody was saying the other day, I don't want to go to Ife. I said, there's not been incident of Ife for a long time. But you know, you have that
psychologically,
memory, that things are not the way they were.
But it is good that the president admitted that the security challenges are evolving. Recent times we have seen the cases of kidnappings and all of that. And he admitted that the security chiefs need to also address that. And mentioning all of this, what his administration have achieved thus far, perhaps this is stemming from the statement he made, I think in Owerri, where he said that most of the successes his government has recorded, nobody is talking about it, not even his people.
Yeah, but we blame him. Yeah. The point there is,
he's in charge of his people.
You are the God. It's like saying, okay, the angels and all the elders in heaven gather and say, there's something wrong with this creation. Who do you blame? It is the man who came to say, let us make man in our own image. Let there be this, let there be that. You have the knife, you have the yam, you have the fire, you have the pot, you have the water. Government is God on earth. So the point there is that you notice that the information management, the thing is not trickling down. It's not, you hired whoever, in fact, it is assumed that the presidency in any country has the power to hire the best of any kind in the world. So the point there is there are times where there are some certain assignment where you feel if you don't get somebody within your country, you can hire somebody from anywhere. So long as you get the work done for your people. Some West African countries have Nigerians as VCs of their universities. Yeah. Some West African countries have Nigerians as Inspector General of their police in their country. It's not because they says that let us get the work done. It doesn't matter where the person comes from. So the point there is that in this case, the president complaining that those who are supposed to be handling my information, and there's an indictment also on himself. You hire somebody who did it, you fire him, get somebody else to get the job done. But however, we commend the president in the area of acquiring military hardware and all of that. But like Sam said, it is one thing to fill the arsenal with all of the best in the world. But how is it translating to Nigerians sleeping well in the night or sleeping well or moving around in the day? We were told that the Super Tucanos, when they come, that's the miracle. The moment those Super Tucanos come, every Nigerian hoped, whether rightly or wrongly, that when those Super Tucanos come, we will experience the peace we had maybe in the 80s or in the 90s, as the case may be. But the Super Tucanos have been here. When Nigerians were saying, why are they not using that we got to know that, okay, you can't just use them, you can't just deploy them. There are certain procedures that you have to get clearance from the United States. You have to get waivers here and there to ensure that you use them so that you don't get to use them in the wrong way. Of course, but we had Nigerians going to the US to train on how to use it. So all of those things are there. It boils down back to the information management. If we're not managing that thing well, you could be doing the best in the world, but yet no
Perhaps
Nigerian
this is why Nigerians are not talking about
it.
as much.
Do it, Nigerians will handle the rest. Remember yesterday we were talking about the Ikoyi Link Bridge. Just do your own. The issue of information, Nigerians will handle it.
Yeah, but also we have to also hold the media. The media responsible for being I use the word pusillanimous in this regard, not moving fast, in even telling the story. Almost as if the media is unwilling to give the man credit, where credit is due.
But Sam,
when we talked about Arsenal,
but if you look at it, Sam, just to add to what you're saying, sometimes it's also it is the government not doing it right. Sometimes, you recall some time ago we were saying, when the president wants to make a very fundamental statement, it is when he travels abroad. He doesn't make those statements back home. So the point there is that Nigerian media will be scrambling and struggling to get to the details of this information from a foreign media.
No, but the Nigerian media knows that it has not been reporting deaths. It didn't need the president to say that there was There was a killing in Kaduna. There was a killing in Borno. There was a killing there. So when there's no killing, you don't need the president to tell you that there's not been killing for a while. That's what I'm saying. So if you, as you said, you have to fill your arsenal in Nigeria. We make sure the arsenal scores like the one in London.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
Nice.
And when it scores,
the Arsenal in London scoring?
Scores in London, we're here in Nigeria.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So you have to make the noise. And nobody will make the noise for you. Nobody loves you so much that they want to make the noise for you. Sometimes your work can make a lot of noise. I saw the tweet by the Labour Party deputy, that is saying that the second Niger bridge. Is it not the job of them to do it? It's not just the job to do it. It's not their job to do it. Is it not, if you do your job, don't you say, well done?
Exactly.
Well, but they're trying to twist it. Somebody was trying to twist the fact that Governor Sanwo-Olu has said he's increasing salaries in Lagos. Say, is it not the job to do periodic salaries? How many, which state in Nigeria has done periodic review? They can't even pay the one they have. So give credit to where credit is due.
Right.
Yes.
Interesting.
I think ultimately Nigeria will benefit if this tempo is sustained.
That's another thing.
Nigerians will like it. It's not just for the time, because Nigerians will pin this to, is it because elections are coming, blah, blah, blah. All those questions will be asked, but let it be genuine that we're just trying to get rid of insecurity so that Nigerians can go back to, ultimately, Nigeria shouldn't even be in this space.
In the first
struggling.
place.
Africa is the centerpiece of Nigerian foreign policy, where if there's issue in Congo, Nigeria is the one to handle it. If there's issue in Liberia, we have done it before.
Absolutely.
So the point there is,
if they say that Sanwo-Olu expense salary is cynical, Buhari has done second Niger is cynical. Give yourself an opportunity to be cynical. You don't become cynical on an empty stomach. You don't on false promise.
That would be a positive and progressive cynicism.
Okay, I'm cynical, but I have something to show for myself.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm increasing salary.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm cynical, but I'm increasing salary. Can you say
And people are benefiting.
Yeah, people are benefiting.
Yeah.
I've done the road. People are going to increase at Christmas now. They're going to go there. Is that cynical? Everybody will want that cynical.
Absolutely. An interesting conversation here, but the aspect of trusting the effort being put in place by government, I think that would take time, because if this is sustained, that is where Nigerians will begin to say, oh, actually, something was done or is being done, seen to be done by the government in power, so to speak, and that they can go to bed and will not see as much persons, jackpying like we are seeing. Because one aspect.
Just to add to that, you see, there was a period of time Nigerians were saying, change the service chiefs, change the service chiefs.
That was done.
If you go on social media now, that is, as they're posting what the military is doing, a lot of commendation for the Nigerian security agencies are going on because they're seeing the result of it. So the point is, just do your work. When it comes to that, spread the good news. Nigerians will handle it. They are good with that.
Absolutely.
Well, they handle it in time. Sometimes you can, they call it the giant rat of Sumatra.
Yeah.
The rat is there, but you don't see it. It's only in the imagination.
Thank you for staying with us. Worried by growing food insecurity, the International Monetary Fund, that's IMF, is calling on nations across the world to increase its response. The body warns that the war in Ukraine, as well as other factors such as the impacts of climate change, are intensifying acute food insecurity and threatening the lives and livelihood of 345 million people. According to the fund, the suffering was worst in 48 countries, many highly dependent on food imports from Ukraine and Russia, adding that the financial costs of the crisis are rising too. Joining us for this conversation is Dr. Ambassador Joyce Andrew. Thank you so much for joining us on TBC Breakfast.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. If you look at the papers this morning, one of the papers had that hunger crisis to worsen as floods drown farmlands, and perhaps this is one of the things fueling food inflation crisis, but paint us a picture of how dire the situation is that IMF is making this call.
Okay, I am Ambassador Joyce Hemney Andrew, the CEO of Supreme Family Entertainment International Initiative, and is a charity organization here in Lagos State. The insecurity of food in this country actually is one of the reasons that makes me to go into taking care of those women, especially in agriculture. And it also gives me the passion to have a food bank where we keep food, where we store food for them to have something eaten, because the food insecurity brings more harm to the society. That is why you see women and children begging on the streets, and it's not really helping matter. And that is the reason why my own organization has put it as a mandate that they must make sure that food is not a problem in this country. And when you come, you see women collecting free food, collecting free items, taking care of them free. And it has reduced a lot of food insecurity. It's making them to be okay, it's making them to be fine.
Just by distributing food?
Yes.
But does that empower them?
Yes.
In some sort?
Along the
such
side.
that they would not have to return to the bank for
no,
food?
No. Like in terms of agriculture, what I do is I get them a farm where they can be able to produce tomatoes, to produce fruits, vegetables, where they can take it back to the market to sell and be able to take care of themselves. So it has really gone a long way by protecting them in some situations, because after the agriculture, they make gari. After they farm, they use the cassava they planted to make gari, and they take it to the market, and you see that they are okay with that.
In Lagos, yeah?
Yes, in Badagry. So we have them all over the 36 states, and we are doing, like in the area of the northern area, Kaduna area, what they do is they farm ginger at Kachia local government. After farming that ginger, they take it to market. People come all over the world to buy it in their market because, you know, ginger has a lot of benefit. So after that thing, they make a lot of money in it. You're not seeing them crying for hungry, saying they are food, they are okay and they are comfortable.
Yeah, they say that once the problem of food is taken away, the rest of it is easier. So of course, health is another issue, which is usually a factor, a recurrent factor, but you have to eat well in order to even get healthy.
That's right.
Now, there was this story that made the rounds last year, and it has lingered up to now. We have not seen any clarity on that. That the bandits stopped many people from going to their farms, or sometimes they charge them fines and so on, you know, to go to their farms. As somebody involved in this at the very grassroots level, what have you found out?
Actually, that's the truth, because I remember when the bandit visited a village at Kaguru area in Kaduna, Apam, they call it Apam. Immediately that incident, I visited them. And all of them were not in the village. The few ones we saw there, we were able to interact with them, which they told us they cannot even go to their farms. They ran away and leave their houses in the night, comes in the morning to do few things and go away. So I confirm it. We have to go there to bring a lot of food for them because they can't go to the farm. When they go to the farm, they will kill them or they will tell them to pay tax. I confirm it myself. I saw it live happening.
Is it still so now?
No, now I think with the security involved is a little bit okay. We have not heard anything like that again. I think they
are going back to their farms now.
They've not really gone back to their farms. They are still on the street. You know, they are still afraid of going to the farm because By the time they go to the farm, they don't know what will happen. So they are still in just their locality areas. They can't even go to the bush, and they can't walk. One person cannot walk alone. It's too common in area of that area of Kaduna State, so that they can never go to farm except what they see in the market. That is what they will buy and go home.
Do you interact with the security agencies, since you are involved in the farm thing, to get the right information about what is going on? Is it just the psychology of the fear, or the fact that the bandits are still there?
The fact that the bandits are nobody knows their location. By the time they take risks to go to the farm, you see people from nowhere coming to attack you. So it give that trauma that happened before. It's still on their head.
Yes,
so they are still scared of going, so that they will not lose their life, because they have lost relations, they've lost mothers, they've lost father, and they don't want to go back there again. So they are so careful of going to the farm now. I think maybe from next year, things will be fine again, but now there is a lot of hunger, because they could not be able to go to farm this year.
So how do you get this produce that you share for people? Do you work with farmers directly, or you just buy from the market?
Actually, as a NGO and as a charity organizations, I seek for funds. Okay. I go out to seek for funds from local community donors, friends in diaspora. We call for their help. In fact, even some of the government offices, I write to them that they need to come to their aid, because if we allow them to just being useless, it will bring insecurity. They will start committing some attitude. They will start committing crimes, and it will affect the community. So I do go out. We, the NGOs, we do write, we do help. Even I do call on the government to support us, so that we can be able to take care of those less privileged that cannot.
And do you get that support from government?
Actually, we don't really. We have not gotten support from government before, except individual donors that have the heart and passion to help humanity.
Who are these individuals?
Yeah, sometimes when they help you, they say, don't mention my name. So it's based on
anonymous.
Us. Yes, and some people will just send it to the account. Some people will just write an envelope. Some chiefs, again, will say, please take this farm, use it, and have a harvest to take care of the less privileged. Like in my area, some of our chiefs give me a very big hectares of land where we produce a lot of ginger.
Where is that?
Yes.
Where?
That's Kachia local government.
In Kaduna?
Yeah, in Kaduna. I'm from a village called Yarbun.
All right.
So, well, we produce a lot of ginger. And that ginger really helped me a lot to take care of the less privileged.
Now, I'm still on this issue before we move to another one. On this issue of the fines and insecurities and so on and so forth. The chief of defense staff once said that they no longer charge fines for people to go to farm. He said so, and some people disputed it, but no, there's nobody to go into the interlands to find out whether it is true or not. Do you have any way of interacting with government agencies to ensure that these routes to the farms are actually secure? Because what is happening is that I was struck there yesterday or last month. Even if it is clear, if the road is clear, it's not clear, I don't know. But I don't want to take the risk to go. But you need the government to give them assurance that this road is okay, you can now go to the farms. There's still a communication gap. Don't you think, is there any way you can interact with government or express these reservations to them?
Yeah, the last time I visited Kafanchan, what I saw makes me to talk to the government. I say, I called for their help on their behalf. I say, please come and rescue these people because they are not finding it easy. You know, they can't really go. If it's me, with what I saw, I would not go to the farm because you don't know where they are coming from. You don't know the angle they are hiding. If you go to the farm and anything happens to you, they will say, who asked you to go? So it's better for them to be in one place and be watchful of what they are doing so that they will not go and involve themselves in that kind of incident. Because in fact, by the time they go to farm, they kill them, they burn their farm. Sometimes they put fire in the farm. So they could not do anything. So when I visited that area those days, I called on the government. I said, please come to their rescue. These people need help. And they even asked me to talk to our state governor that they cannot go to farm. They need something that they can be doing that will help them. Because somebody cannot farm, he don't have food to eat. Some of them, like in Kachia, those Kadara people, you know, they are based on farming. They don't know anything apart from farming. So you see their women. It's not as if their women have gone to school or they have another things doing. But after when I went there, I have to come back to teach them a skills accusation that will help them, even without the farming, they can be able to have another thing to do. Teaching them how to make liquid soap and a kind of small-scale business that can bring money for them before the situation will be solved. And they learn it, and they were so happy. Now you see them preparing some things, making puff-puff, doing some kind of business, and take it to the market. At least they have something. I went to the IDP camp. I trained more than 5,000 of them in their camps. In fact, all those local governments, starting from Kachia down, I make sure I visited them in the camp. I trained them, and they were okay. They were happy.
You said this NGO, what you're doing in Kaduna is replicated across the 36 states of the
NGO is national.
Right.
Yeah.
So have you visited a place like Benue State or perhaps Kogi State, and you see the situation on the ground now is flooding? What reports are you getting with regard to that and how that is affecting them beyond security?
Actually, I only visited Kogi State for a renovation. Okay. And there is a hospital they sent to me in picture on my phone. I saw that hospital. I said, it's a government hospital. I said, if somebody that is sick, we enter this hospital and use this toilet,
you get more
in fact, infections upon infection, you will not be healed. So I have to take my own time to renovate that hospital, which is not my duty. But because of the well-being of those people, that makes me, I have the passion for the people, and I don't, by the time they are sick, every day they are calling you, please help us, send money, send this. I'm not happy. So I have to take time. I have a coordinator there. I asked him, please, what can we do to make this facility, this toilet? We changed the net, because if you see the net, it has finished totally.
It's a mosquito trap. It's a mosquito trap.
Yes. The mosquito is bombarding them. You know, the bed have torn, and I said, this is a government hospital. It's not supposed to be like that. I renovate it, paint it, change the tiles, change the toilet seat, change the lights. In fact, if you see there again, it has turned.
So beyond feeding, you have delved into other areas of skill acquisition and all of that.
Yes, apart from even feeding, paying of their school fees. Some of them have fibroids. You see them walking along the street with big stomach. I take them, even in the streets, to hospital for operation. Sometimes when I take them, some of these people, to government hospital, they don't receive them. They tell me, take them, we can't handle it. I remember the rescue we did in Egbeda, those people begging on the street, those people that you see as if they have wounds, as if they have this. So I discovered that it was just, they are just lying. I visited their camp with my team. What I saw, in fact, I was so crazy about it. I reported the case to the police.
That they were faking it?
Yes. And I saw those people, you know, you see plaster, but when you remove it, there's nothing there. I have to pack all of them to the police at Idumu. I packed them to the police, and I end up spending my money. They released them.
There's a journalist, Henry Akibu, wrote a novel about this kind of thing. Some people just came from outside town. Then they started thinking about how they are going to make money. They put themselves, they now perfected the art of deforming, of seeming to have deformed themselves as a way of making money. And
I think I spoke on AIT then. I said, please, the Lagos state government should do something about it, because you see small children. There is even one, they gave him name Alaye. That boy, they brought him at the age of 2 months, and he's already 12 months. It can be harmful to the society because he's exposed to danger already. I packed almost 15 of them to the hospital. The other lady was bleeding because she had I don't really know. And with that condition, the men there were still sleeping with the lady. She was bleeding blood. I took her to Igondu General. They refused to take her. I have to take her to private and spend a lot of money. I don't know her. I charter bus. I called Benue State.
Why did you report the hospital? Because the hospital is not supposed to be a public hospital.
They refused to accept her. They said they can't. That the lady was bleeding. They said no. The nurse on duty rejected her. We took them
back.
Should
have reported the nurse on duty. Because she had no right to do that. She had no right. You should have reported.
All the way from Egbeda.
But you should have reported the nurse. And the ministry should have taken care of the situation.
There is no support. We took them to the general hospital. From there, to private hospital. They collected their money and took care of her. There were 15 of them, and we take care of them. We charter bus. We call their chief over there in Benue State, and we discovered that the leaders there in the society are aware of what is happening. They give out their children, and the children give them returns.
Yes, really? But their children are investments.
Yes, they give them returns. So
so sent the children to go and do what? To
go and do to sell, to be begging on the streets, to be faking the sickness. It's an enterprise. Yeah?
Yes, it's a family enterprise.
In fact, that particular NGO is registered. The person doing that thing in Lagos is
registered as what?
Yes,
as a business.
Yes, it's a registered NGO. So I have
to send children to go and beg.
That is child trafficking.
That's begging Inc.
Yes, yes. So
that's what it is.
We went there. Even the women that they are still in their camp as I speak to you. Is it Akonjo? Akonjo.
Yeah.
They are still there. We beg them to leave.
Report them to so that they go there and then they'll read them out of the place.
I have done that. The police, I've spent a lot. Nobody really was ready to do anything. So I alone. They even told me if I don't stop it, they have an situation. They may harm me.
Come after you, yeah.
So I have to pack it up and leave. So after we return those children back to Benue, last upper week, my husband was driving. He saw the boy again. They brought him back. He was begging on the streets again. And he said, Alaye, what are you doing here? He said, I don't come back to business. So it's very, very, this kind of thing, we are staying with the grassroots. Every day I know sometimes we cook more than 2 bags of rice every day to give to those boys on the streets. because they don't have what to eat makes them to enter trouble.
So
But
does
it's
such
written- sorry, go ahead.
experiences, excuse me, so does such experiences discourage you in what you're doing, so to speak?
No. In fact, it's what I love to do. If I don't even cook for them every day, I'm not happy. I go to where they used to stay, all those boys, where they smoke. I take food to them with water. And sometimes when I go there, they start calling, Mama Supreme, you have come again. Please, we don't want to smoke.
Mama what?
Mama Supreme. They call me Mama Supreme. So we don't want to.
They have a good sense of imagination.
Yes. They say, we don't want to do this kind of thing again. Sometimes when they are sick, I have a small clinic that if they are sick, they run because they may not have money to go to
The clinic.
the hospital. So when they come, they have small injury. I used to get anti-malaria. I give them, say, take care of yourself. Sometimes I will cook on the street. I'll say, everybody come and eat. So it makes them look happy. And sometimes I'll say, I want you to go and farm tomatoes. You have your farm. I encourage them to even go into fish farming. So with small money, it makes their life better. So they are happy.
So what you are saying here is that we keep saying that in the north you have the Amajiris. We have a different version of Amajiris here in the south. Yes.
In fact, we have senior and
The ones in the north is sociological. The one in the south is entrepreneurial.
Yes, the ones in the north actually they go to read.
Yes.
They go there to learn.
To Makaranta.
To Makaranta.
Yes.
That is what they do.
Yes.
But the one here, they come to us.
Yes, that's why I say so. The ones in the north, they are sociological. The ones in the south is entrepreneurial.
The government needs to take a serious action on that.
It's terrible.
For a woman to fake that she has a baby, some of the baby, they rent the baby.
Yes.
They rent.
Yes.
It's happening. I visited their camp that night from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. We were in the road fighting them. Arrest almost 15 of them. They released them. And I didn't expect the police because
To release them.
They could have provided their leaders. At least with doing that, this economic and the society will grow fine.
Right.
Because it's making us to have more problems.
And we'll have to leave the conversation here. An interesting insight you have given to us, Dr. Ambassador Joyce Andrews, Secretary of the African Food Bank, CEO, Supreme Family Entertainment International Initiative, African Peace Ambassador. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your good work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, the ranks of the Academic Staff Union of Universities have been divided as the federal government recently presented certificates of registration to two breakaway factions of the Academic Staff Union of Universities. The new unions, the National Association of Medical and Dental Academics and the Congress of Nigerian University Academics, which will exist alongside ASU, have resolved to resume work. Meanwhile, the Court of Appeal will today deliver a ruling in an application by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, seeking permission to file an appeal against the Industrial Court order. Judiciary correspondent Celestina Area has details.
Dissatisfied with the lower court's order, ASU through its counsel Femi Falana had filed an application at the Court of Appeal in Abuja seeking leave to file an appeal against the Industrial Court order. Mr. Falana claimed that it is the right of his client to file an appeal against the interlocutory injunction granted against his client. He cited several authorities to that effect that ASU must first seek and obtain a leave from the Court of Appeal before filing the notice of appeal to ensure the validity of the appeal. The senior lawyer informed the three-member panel of the appellate court, presided by Justice Herman Baka, to reject the federal government's opposition to the application. He argued that it would amount to a dangerous decision for his client to be denied the right of appeal. He requested that the stay of execution of the ruling of the Industrial Court contained in the application be discountenanced. In vehement opposition to ASU's application, the federal government prayed to the appellate court to dismiss the entire application on grounds of incompetence and jurisdiction. Counsel to the federal government, James Igwe, drew the attention of the court to the fact that the Industrial Court's order made on 21st September has not been obeyed by the lecturers to date. He opposed the decision of ASUU to petition a stay of execution, adding that both parties have joined issues. Similarly, Mr. Igwe argued that proper parties were not before the court because parties were wrongfully and unlawfully listed as parties at the industrial court. Justice Herman Baka, after taking argument from the two parties, announced that the decision of the court will be delivered on the 7th of October.
The Honorable Justices took all the applications. Of course, we raised several other issues that his application was incompetent, he had approached the court with dirty hands, he had not evinced special circumstances and all that. So the Honorable Court listened to all counsel and adjourned to tomorrow for ruling. We can't say any more because these are live issues before the Honorable Court to decide. In the interest of this generation and generations to come, in the interest of investments in the educational sector, in the interest of intellectualism, in the interest of the image of this nation, that strike should be called off. That's all we are saying, whichever way, no matter who wins.
There's only one union for our members of academic staff in all Nigerian universities. You can't have two, you can't have three. And the Supreme Court has made the point very abundantly clear in the case of Asawe and Registrar of Trade Union that your freedom of association is not absolute, and that your freedom of association has to be exercised in a way that industrial peace is promoted in Nigeria. And that is why once a union has been recognized to represent a particular cadre of workers, you cannot have two or three.
The decision of the court tomorrow will determine if ASUU can continue with its appeal or be immediately returned to the industrial court. Celestina Iria, TVC News, Abuja.
All right, thank you for joining us. We've been looking at the lingering ASUU strike and the fact that the federal government registered two breakaway factions, talking about the Congress of Nigerian University Academics and the Nigerian Association of Medical and Dental Academics as well. And right now we'll be focusing on CONUA, which is the Congress of Nigerian University Academics. And we have joining us via Zoom the National Legal Advisor of CONUA, Dr. Misbah Alamu Latif. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast. Can you hear me?
Good morning. I can hear you.
Right. Now, perhaps you talk to us how does the recognition of CONUA by the federal government advance the interest of university lecturers?
Right. Thank you so much. And it is pleasing to be on your TV morning show program. Before I answer your question, permit me to quickly correct what has become a pervasive error in the media regarding the registered name of CONUA. The registered name is Congress of University Academics, as opposed to the, reference to the union as Congress of Nigerian University Academics. So it is important to stress that the word Nigeria is not there. And of course, because this is a trade union registered under the laws of Nigeria, it is implied that it is a Nigerian trade union of teachers. Now, coming back to your question, how does the registration of CONUA address, the developmental issue in tertiary education in Nigeria, if I can rephrase in that way? Over the past decade, we have had, protracted, I would say, disruption in our academic activity, particularly at the tertiary institutions. And the reason for this have been various. They have included, I would say, first and foremost, failure of government to fund education properly. And also, there has also been issue of, indefinite strike actions, from the trade union that comprises not only the academics, but also other variants of public employees. So this has been the issue for the past decades. And then there has also been the issue of the crisis, this has created the quality of education in our society, because there is a direct link between stable academic calendar and quality of the programs and even the graduates. So when you have perennial breakages, if you like, or break in academic calendar, it impacts on quality, it disrupts lives and all of that. So as a result of this challenge, and given other challenges, there are lecturers or teachers who have come to reason that perhaps there is a better way to handle this perennial disagreement between governments and their employees at the federal university in particular. And we thought that we could bring a better or an alternative, perspective to addressing the challenges in our academic system, particularly the perennial face-off between governments, one government after the other. So basically, what CONUA seeks to do differently, therefore, is to bring to the table a different approach, a paradigm shift, if you like, to negotiating with government.
What is this different approach that you are bringing to the table if you are saying that strike is not the way to go, and seeing also that your presence is just recorded in one university as it is being reported, OAU, so to speak? How do you intend to get the buying of other lecturers into your association such that it will drive perhaps the new approach that you're bringing to the table?
Okay, before I address the new approach, let me quickly correct your point that the presence of CONUA is only on OAU. That is not correct. As I speak to you now, we have presence in not less than 20 universities. And since the registration of CONUA 2 days ago, there have been other campuses that have signified interest in joining CONUA. And you will agree with me that there is normally a time to grow, a time to build membership, and a time for development. CONUA has just been registered. There have been lecturers or teachers who all the years have waited for this opportunity of an alternative, to dispute, I would say, a resolution in our tertiary institution. Now, the different approach we bring to the table is simple. We call it constructive engagement. And what is constructive engagement? We seek to engage with all stakeholders without necessarily shutting down the system. We have seen that constant shutting down of the system have created more problem than solving any problem. So therefore, we will continue to engage, we will continue to discuss. And when I say stakeholders, I mean the National Assembly, for example, not only the Ministry of Labor and Employment, not only the employees, so all these stakeholders and the National University Commission, for example, and all of them. So we seek to engage all stakeholders in addressing the challenges of funding, challenges of revitalization in the university system, and all of that. And we believe that negotiation can never be enough. So there's no point why we cannot continue to discuss and negotiate, why we continue to work. And the simple example I can, bring to justify this is we have been on strike for 8 months. On the part of CONUA, I would say a strike that was forced on our members. Now, for the past 8 months, what exactly has been achieved? Nothing. If the strike is called off today, nothing again will have been achieved, other than maybe signing some agreement. So why do we have to shut down the system for several weeks and for several months just to sign an agreement? And an agreement that may not actually...
So yes,
Hello?
Go ahead.
So why should we have to shut down the system just to sign an agreement? And like I said, if the strike is called off today, nothing will have achieved other than signing another agreement. So that agreement could have been negotiated, the discussion could have been sustained, could have been continued while we continue to work. There is no perfect work environment or workplace environment anywhere in the world. This is where the issue of dispute between labor and, the employee and the employer is something that is never ending. It is something that you continue to debate, something you continue to discuss. So you can never have a one-off solution at any point in time. The wages will never be enough. The employer will never pay enough. So you continue to negotiate, you continue to discuss. But when you bring down the system, you shut down the system in a bid to, according to you, solve a problem. You create more problem. And that is exactly what KONOA seek to change. So we do not support the idea of indefinite or what some people call total strike. Not that we do not recognize strike as a legal tool, in industrial relation. You can't take that away. But it is not really about whether you go on strike or not. But what use do you put the strike to? Do you go on strike to, the system? Do you go on strike constructively in such a way that the system is protected? So these are the issues, and this is the kind of paradigm shift that we think to bring. We believe in, for example, place of time and pace in development. Things or change, they take processes and they take time. They don't have to be sudden. None of the problem, for example, is something that we can eat from the shelf.
All right, Dr. Lateef. Dr. Lateef, let me come to you this way. The point there is, we all know, or Nigerians have an experience, or labor unions generally have an experience with past administration, the attitude of politicians when it comes to honoring agreements or honoring the request for improvement in systems, in public systems, whether health, education, housing, infrastructure, and all of that. Now you're talking about negotiation. I wonder how negotiation is going to get those things done when it looks like if you don't go extreme, you can't get things from government. Is that the only instrument that KONOA is coming on board with when it comes to the instrument of engagement with government, especially when you have demands and they are not being met? Is that what it is?
Well, it is true that government over the years have not been maybe cooperating or listening enough. And people have said the only language that government understand is to go on strike. But the question you ask yourself is this. Now, if you have consistently gone on strike and then you have achieved little or nothing, or you have achieved not much, or you have even succeeded in causing more disruptions, then do you continue to do the same thing when eventually, after your strike may have been concluded, you will still have to go to the same round table? So what I'm saying is that you cannot sufficiently discuss. So you continue to discuss until you are able to achieve a resolution or an agreement. By the way, when we say agreements or resolutions, you see, when parties go to the table with a mindset that you are negotiating with your enemy, or with a mindset of it is either our way or no way, or it is either take it or leave it, there is hardly any possibility that a resolution will be achieved. But when you go to a table with an open-minded, approach, where parties are willing to give and take, so you will realize that you tend to achieve more results than shutting down the system, particularly in the manner that will put our youth, the future of this country, into jeopardy. For 8 years, we have rendered this youth helpless. We have rendered them redundant. Many have gone into vices. We have recorded death and all of that. I personally know at least 5 students who have lost scholarship opportunity because of the disruption in the academic system. So the question again is that for the past 8 months, what exactly have you achieved? Not one single brick has been added to any university structure. Not one book has been added to any library. Not one bucket or bowl of chemical has been added to any laboratory. So some of these things, they are things that will or may be achieved without necessarily shutting down the system. And I'm not saying KONOA exists basically because of the idea of preventing shutting down the system. We exist also particularly because we think things can be done better than the way ASU has handled it. And more importantly, under Section 40 of the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria, there is what we call freedom of association. So ASU has become, if you ask me, an hegemony that is so monotonous. And there are many lecturers or teachers in our universities who do not necessarily share the ideology or modus of ASU. So those people also have the right to associate under our law. And that is exactly what has given birth to KONOA. People want to associate based on interest. They want to associate based on how they think things can be handled. and not necessarily being ordered, by a monotonous or one behemoth which, seek to control everybody willy-nilly. As I speak to you now, for example, the university was shut down, not necessarily because CONUA members are not ready to work, but because there is a perception outside that all lecturers are not ready to teach. That is not correct. That is not the case. So if you now have an alternative union where people who seek to pursue their own demand in a better or much more robust way can assemble and do it, then the better for the system, the better for this government, the better for the other unions, because we will therefore constitute checks and balances on one another, as the case may be.
Please, can you take us through how CONUA came to be and your interaction with the government? Did it just happen? Take us through the process. And the part two of my question is, how are you dealing with the insinuation that you guys are traitors?
You see, thank you, Sam, for that beautiful question. And it is very important because I've read in the media and I've seen people spoke, they call us all sorts of names, just like you have mentioned now, they call us traitors and betrayers. Those people, they have simply, I would say, exposed their hypocrisy, ignorance, and maybe sometimes envy. CONUA actually started over 4 years ago. What you see today, in a manner of speech, is a long walk to freedom. A long walk to freedom in the sense that we have been on this journey for the past 4 years, and I've been personally involved. So I speak from personal experience. We've had series of meetings at the Ministry of Labor and Employment in Abuja where we interrogate or where we interface with government officials. So CONUA actually started, by applying under the Trade Union Act, which empowers, group of employees who may desire to come together and then form a trade union to pursue their common interests. So then we approached the Ministry of Labor and Productivity and Employment sometime in 2018. And between that time and 2 or 3 days ago, when the certificate was issued, it has been a very long battle. In fact, there were times we considered suing the ministry when we thought they were not going to register us. There was a time they invited us where we had to literally defend the rationale for registering CONUA. We had to justify to them why we are different from ASU, or why ASU modus of operandi does not align with our interests. So these are the things we have gone through. So what happened 2 days ago was not just an happenstance. It was a long process that has taken over 4 years. And I remember again, there was a time to tell you that the ministry didn't just act, I would say, arbitrarily. There was a time in the process where the ministry had to write the Minister of Justice for legal opinion as part of their due process. That also took some, bureaucratic time. And when the report came, as we later became aware of, it was positive. The Ministry of Justice advised the Labor Ministry. So it is unfair, and I would say reckless, for anyone to actually attribute the registration of CONUA to politics or any other thing. This is clearly an exercise of a legal right, which the minister has exercised and which members of CONUA as Nigerian citizens have enjoyed. So it is reckless, it is laughable for anyone to think otherwise. CONUA did not just happen. It is a long struggle and a tortuous one for that matter.
So how do you intend to hit the ground running? And now that schools are still on strike, are your lecturers going to return to the classrooms? How do you intend to do this?
You see, CONUA lecturers or lecturers who belong to CONUA, they have never been on strike. They have never been part of this strike. And they have made that consistently clear. What has happened is that because of the perception that ASU represent all teachers, the government or university authorities, they shut down the university. And the clamor of CONUA has been that, look, we are not on strike. We are ready to teach. Open the university. And I can tell you with all sense of responsibility that there are quite many teachers who do not belong to ASU. And there are those who do not also belong to CONUA. So really, it is not the case that ASU actually represent all lecturers in Nigerian university. What ASU has enjoyed so far, and which is now resisting, is this hegemony of I would say, monotony, which they seek to continue. And some of us have said, look, we cannot continue to do things the old way, with certain ideological presets, and then we expect to achieve a different result. So we can do things better and differently. So what we are saying is that let the university gate be flung open. And I can tell you that there are lecturers who are willing to teach.
How will it be flung open? That's the question. Who will fling it open? And
it is the responsibility of the Vice Chancellor as a council of the university may direct, and their supervising authority, the NUC, the Federal Ministry of Education or Labor, can also, make that move. But you see, we are just employees, members of Congress.
All right. The point there is, like you said, KONOA is not on strike, yet they can't teach. If that is the situation, then what is the relevance of KONOA if they can't rally the universities to open on their own? Dr. Lateef, are you there?
I'm there. Can you hear me?
Very good. I can hear you now. So I'm asking, okay, what would be the relevance of KONOA if they are not on strike, yet they can't teach because they don't have what it takes to rally the universities to open?
Okay, I've spoken to that earlier when I said the gates of the university were actually shut against KONOA members because of the perception that all lecturers were on strike. So when you talk about mobilization, therefore, let the gate be flung open first. Once the university are open, I can tell you, like I said earlier, there are teachers who are willing to restore to classes. So it is not the duty of KONOA to open the university. If the Vice Chancellor decides today to do that, or the NUC direct the university to do that, I can assure you, and like I mentioned earlier, since the issuance of the certificate of KONOA, there have been many campuses, that have signified interest in coming on board. You see, what people have waited for all this while is an opportunity to have a platform recognized by law. Because if you don't have a recognized or registered trade union, then the approach or the idea of a collective bargaining would not be possible. Now that KONOA is registered and according to law, and if you allow me to just quickly speak to what some people have said about illegality, I think that is also another laughable and I would say reckless, statement to make by anyone, with any idea of law. There is nothing under the laws of Nigeria, whether the Constitution or the Trade Union Act, which forbid the registration of multiple trade union. At any rate, the responsibility to do that is for the registrar of trade union under the Minister of Labor and Employment. And what the law says, particularly if you allow me, under Section 3 of the Trade Union Act, is that if the trade union registrar of trade union is satisfied that a union that has applied to be registered, is not sufficiently, I would say, represented by an extant union, then the registrar may register. So we've had instances where the registrar declined registration and people went to court. And the court said, well, it is for the registrar to determine whether the new union is not represented by an extant union. We've also had instances where people went to court. They challenged the registrar, and the court said, the registrar actually registered the union, and they challenged that. And the court said, well, the registrar has exercised, his discretion as he deemed fit. So the point is that to register a new union is not something that an extant union would decree to the regulator, which is the registrar of trade union, or to the ministry. No. An extant union will ordinarily be jealous. They will be envious. They will not like competition. They will not like alternatives. So it is not for them to decree who is registered or which is not registered. It is a matter of law. And that discretion lies with the minister and the registrar of trade union who act under the authority of the minister. So it is not correct to say KONOA is illegal or something. That is reckless and laughable.
Now, with the demands that ASUU is making, are you going to put forward a different demand before the federal government? Because one way or the other, some of the demands made by ASUU affects some of the lecturers under your association. What is the plan to addressing the issues? Or have you been paid in the past 8 months?
We have not been paid in the past 8 months, and that is another most unfortunate aspect of it, because our members have not been paid, not because they refuse to work. They have not been paid because the laws of their workplace were shut against them. So they are not on strike. They have not been on strike. Now, regarding the other aspect of your question, sorry, can you remind me of that again?
I'm asking, what are you going to put forward before the federal government with regards to issues? Yes.
You see, and I want to make this very clear. The issue about Konwa relay is not that we don't agree, that government has failed, and not only this present government, even the previous government, they have failed to fund education sufficiently. So we do not have disagreement with the rot in the system. We believe that these rot are there. We believe that this rot should be, corrected or redeemed, as the case may be. However, the challenge is that we do not share any ideology or any modules that will compound the problem than solving the problem. So, of course, we will also request for better wages. We will request for better work environments and all of that. These are continuous, like I said earlier, industrial environment issues that will continue to rear their head. They are never ending. Employee will always have issues, and legitimately so. Employer will also have their excuses, and maybe not legitimately. But the point is, we will also demand for better pay. We will also demand for a better and conducive work environment. We don't have disagreement with those issues, but we will not demand for those things by shutting down the system. We will not demand for those things by pacifying, or with the mindset that we are dealing with an enemy, and then because we are dealing with that enemy, it is either we crush the enemy or we crush the system. That is what we are saying. So we have different approach, and because our ideology is different.
All right. Dr. Lateef, one of the contentions here between ASU and federal government is the platform, the payment platform, the UTAS and IPPS. Would you confirm whether all KONOA members are on the IPPS platform or willing to be on the IPPS platform? Can you exercise that for us?
Okay, you see, from the onset, KONOA members have willingly enrolled on IPs, and I personally, with all modesty, was one of the people who actually, went forward to enroll in my school based on directive of KONOA. And our point is simple. You see, you will not see example anywhere in the world where employee dictate to their employer the mode of payment or the payroll system, if you like. What right the employee have is to insist on being paid adequately or sufficiently, as the case may be. So it does not really bother KONOA whether the government decide to pay in cash, they pay by check or whatever. What we are saying is this: we recognize the challenges with IPs. In fact, IPs has in a way reduced wages of lecturers, no doubt. And government has put forward their own argument, which we don't agree with. But we are saying we will insist that IPs or whatever platform of government should be fine-tuned to accommodate the peculiarity of university teachers. So instead of fighting and insisting that your employer must pay you by a particular platform that you dictate, we said no. We are okay with whatever platform government has, provided the peculiarities to us are incorporated in that government platform. At any rate, it is not the platform that determine what, it is not the platform, whether IPs or UTAS or whatever, that determine what is paid. It is the input. So it is not about the software or how it is paid. It is what is paid. So for us, really, we are fully enrolled on IPs, and KONOA has never really had issue with IPs beyond the challenges with IPs. Challenges that has, in a way, I would say, compromise the pace of lecturers. And we have consistently, argue or discuss with government to make sure that they correct those errors. So that's the stand of KONOA.
All right, and it's on that note we'll wrap up this conversation, but we must thank you, National Legal Advisor of KONOA, Dr. Misbah Alamu Lateef. Thank you so much for your time on the program.
My pleasure being on your show. Thank you.
Right.
Welcome.
Now, before colonialism, Africans had mastered the art of painting and sculpting. The beautiful Benin bronze and Kaduna knock artworks looted by the British are a testament to this fact. Displayed in museums in different parts of the world to the delight of visitors, The beauty and glory of contemporary African art is attested to by all who set eyes on it. Joining us now via Zoom is Nigerian printmaker, painter, and sculptor Elder Bruce Onobrakbeya. Thank you for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Right.
Sir, I want to say happy birthday. You turned 90. From a son of a carver to become an icon of visual art. Give us a little snippet into how that son became an icon.
Thank you very much. The son of a carver was also, the carver himself was a farmer, and a very successful farmer, who sent me to school, and the school saw the talent in me and developed it, and other people helped to develop it. And eventually I ended up studying art properly in the College of Technology, and I came out to teach again and to develop myself as an artist. And that has taken me to the present position.
Yeah, I also want to ask, you belong to one group in ABU called the Rebels. Tell us about how that rebel became mainstream.
Say that again.
You belong to a group in ABU called the Rebels. Tell us how that rebel became mainstream.
Well, the group you refer to is called the Zaria Art Society. They had a mantra or manifesto which talked about return to the roots. That is to say, go back to your past, take up the good things that are there, dust them, bring them to the present, add other good things from outside, and then construct a good life, a good progressive life. That was the mantra, that was the philosophy, that was the manifesto of that particular group. By that, we actually had to go back to look at how colonialism and a lot of other things have taken us backward, have removed our personality and so on. But we now asked ourselves to look within ourselves, take all the good things that are there, and then build on that and go ahead to live a healthy and profitable life and very progressive life. By the way, Kojo Fosu called us rebels. We were not rebels, we were not rebelling at all. All we were doing was, it was quite, we were in for change, some kind of change. So it wasn't a kind of rebellion. We're changing from something that was not good for us to something that was quite good for us. So that is the thing about the Zaria Art Society.
All right, Elder Bruce, let me comment this way. I believe that I believe you've been watching the transition of arts from your days when you were young and what we have now. If you have to take us through this transition, are you seeing some positivity or are you seeing some reduction in the emphasis of the impact of what art is to life, or you're seeing more of it? Talk to us about that.
Well, art was part of our life from the traditional time. It went down because of colonial impact and because of emphasis on the 3 R's, writing, reading, and arithmetic. It went down very much, and towards the time of independence, art was not regarded as one type of job that can put bread and butter or bacon on your table. And so at the time where we went to art school, the morale, the feeling about art was very, very low. But the group, that Zaria Art Society, came out to really work to bring that art situation to the positive look that it has today. We knew that was something that would improve our personality, improve, give us money, take the country to a point whereby we can depend on art for personal expression, for a lot of things that will take us forward. From that low beginning of the colonial time to this time, art has grown tremendously. And we are experiencing because artists are no longer regarded as had failed out of all that other subjects. Artists are now regarded as artists, as people with intellect, people who can become vices, people who can become parliamentarians, people who can write books, people who can be in a position where learned people or people who are supposed to be respected and respected, where people who are supposed to be respected are put together and regarded and actually respected. So that is art. Art has grown to a position whereby we are very, very proud. In those days, in those days when we went to school, nobody would want to sponsor a child to school. But nowadays, if you say you want to if your child says you want to go to school, now you just go around and find the money to send that child to school. Because you think that it's going to be like the Grillos, it's going to be like the Ucho Kekes, the Timasmokos, and it's going to be a progressive kind of person in the society that will take the society up.
All right. Now, Elder, you spoke about how your dad moved to Benin City, and I'm wondering how an artistically developed state like that influenced your work, and two, what also inspires you in your paintings?
The Roboland is part of the Delta region where Benin is, and they share the same culture. So my father moving from Roboland to Benin land was also not a disruption of culture. What we experienced traditionally in Roboland, we got in Benin. But the Benin high culture actually helped me to appreciate the value of culture, and that put in me the desire, the passion to go back to the past, dig what is good about it, about that past, and bring it to the present time. So you see, the movement from Roboland to Benin was very, very good because I was always down there in a cultural milieu, in a cultural setup, with a cultural richness that I have been exploring even up till today.
Now, sir, it's interesting you said that. Mentioning Benin, you must have followed the stories about the return of the artworks from Benin, the repatriation of them, and some of the dramas that have associated with them. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I want to say that I am very happy that the work has been returned. But what I think is that the work should be returned to the palace, because they took them away from many of them were taken away from the palace, and those works had some duties in the palace. They should be returned to the palace, and it is for the Oba to decide on what to do with those artworks, rather than just throw them about and put them in the place where they would not be respected, where they would not have any meaning to the cultural history or to the things which they were meant to do or to do in the area. The work should be returned to the palace, and then it's the palace that will decide what to do with those works, rather than keep them just anywhere and let them scatter again.
All right, Elder Bruce, unfortunately, we have to end the conversation here now for want of time. Time is not our friend, but we must thank you for gracing our studio, our program with your presence, and we wish you a happy birthday.
And happy 90th. I understand there's a party reception for you tonight. Wish you an enjoyment of your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.